All right. We have here Hawaii, Alaska. Now let's go up here to Maine. Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Rhode Island's that tiny little rectangle right there. You probably can't even see it in the video. Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. Are y'all keeping up? Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California. Did we say Nevada? Hi, I'm John, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to cover part 2 as to why the United States is the way in which the United States is. In part 1, I went real quick over the creation of the United States, the presidency, the state governors, and freedom to travel through the states. In this video, part 2 of why the United States is the way it is, I'm going to start off with the individual nation states, right? The nation states that make up the Union, right? We have 50 nation states that make up the Union. So what is the nation state? A nation state is a country, okay? That's a nation state. That's what a state is. Mexico's a nation state. Canada's a nation state. France is a nation state. Germany's a nation state. Every country on this planet is a nation state. Well, we have 50 nation states that make up the Union of the United States. Now, how do we know that they're nation states that make up a union? Well, once a year, every year, the President of the United States gives what is known as the State of the Union Address, right? The State of the Union speech. The President gives that once a year. So once a year, the President will either stand or sit on national television and tell us, the American people, the state of our union. Is the state of our union still strong, or is it getting weak? Our economy, how's our economy? The President can pretty much cover whatever he wants in his speech, but it's supposed to be the State of the Union speech, okay? Once a year. Another way we know we're a nation of United Nation, a nation of United States, is that the states at one time had the freedom and the ability to secede from the Union, okay? Pull away from the Union and become an independent or sovereign nation of their own, right? We saw that in the 1800s during the United States Civil War, right? In the 1800s, the southern states seceded from the Union and then got into a war with the northern states. We called it the Civil War. At the end of the Civil War, I believe there was a law put in place, or an agreement put in place, that all of the states had to agree to and accept. And that is that no one state can secede from the Union anymore. All right? So it's kind of funny when you hear a politician that gets mad at the federal government start talking about how they're going to put it to a vote, or they're going to write up this bill in their state, they're going to get it put to the vote for their state to secede from the Union. Every time it's funny because every time Texas gets mad at the federal government, or California gets mad at the federal government, or the states just, whenever a state just gets upset, right? They'll have a politician, I'm going to write up this bill, we're going to get it voted on, and we're going to secede from the Union, and blah. No, they're not going to, because I believe there's that agreement that they can no longer secede from the Union, right? And besides, why would you want to secede from the Union? That would just be the stupidest thing you could do. California, or even Texas, okay? California, we got this great GDP, we got this great economy. We could be, if we succeed from the Union, we become our own, we would have the 6th or 4th or 3rd largest economy in the world, or however you want to put it, right? But no, they wouldn't, okay? And neither would Texas. Because the first thing that would happen just before they were to succeed, right? Or right as they succeed, the United States government, the United States itself, would pull all of its military and personnel and assets out of the state of California or out of the state of Texas, and then pull all of its currency out of California or out of Texas, and then refuse to recognize them as a sovereign nation or as a sovereign state, and completely cut off all trade with them. And then not only cut off all trade, I mean, they'd pull their currency out, right? And they'd completely cut off all trade, embargo, all right, and blockade them, right? They would just become a third world country overnight, right? So, but again, I mean, so why would you want to leave the greatest union of nation states that was ever created, right? The United States is the greatest thing that mankind has ever created on the face of the earth. That's why so many people want to come here, right? Live the American dream, right? Another thing, every nation within the United States has its own flag to represent its nation, state, okay? France has a flag, Russia has a flag, Mexico has their flag, Puerto Rico has their flag, even though they're a territory of the U.S., they're still a sovereign nation. They have representation in our government, but we'll get into Puerto Rico at another time. But Japan's a sovereign nation, right? They have flags, right? They all have their flag that represents them. Again, the United States. Okay, so we have Oklahoma, we have Texas, we have Indiana, we have Illinois, we have Alaska. Every state within the Union has a flag, right? Texas has their flag. It's the one with the big white star on it, right? And they call themselves the Lone Star State. Well, we'll get into that maybe in another video. No, we can do it. So they call themselves the Lone Star State because the settlers who settled in Texas, at the time Texas belonged to Mexico, declared their independence from Mexico, and they were in the Alamo when they declared their independence from Mexico, and they created their own Republic of Texas and their own constitution. They sent a delegate to the United States to ask the United States for help, military, they wanted the United States to send a cavalry to help them defend their Republic of Texas, and the United States said no. You're declaring your own independence from Mexico. That's Mexican territory. You're declaring your independence from, and we're not going to get into a war or a spitting match with Mexico. The Mexican army wiped them out there at the Alamo. Well, that's when they decided, okay, we want to join the Union. We want to join the United States. And the United States was like, no, not. You're still your own independent country. The Texans, they went down into Mexico and they kidnapped somebody. I don't know if it was the president of Mexico at the time or who it was, but they held the guy ransom until Mexico capitulated and recognized Texas as its own country, its own republic. And that's why they call themselves the Lone Star State, because they did it alone. They did it on their own without the help of the United States. Well, they eventually came around to joining the Union of the States, because they realized that by joining the Union of the States and becoming a state within the United States, they would be stronger than what they are single, okay, or by themselves. Right? They were reading the writing on the wall. If they'd have stayed single and away from the United States, they could have ended up being taken over again by Mexico, right? So every state in the Union is its own nation state, and every state in the Union has its flag, and they can change their flag design at any time throughout history. I'm going to use Oklahoma as an example. Oklahoma is red man land. It's the red man state. It's Indian territory. It's Indian land, okay? It's a state in the Union, but it's still red man land. Indians. And no, I don't say Native American, because I'm not going to take away from their heritage. I'm not going to take away from them. And I'm not offended by calling them American. And most of them I know of aren't offended by being called American Indian, because that's their heritage. That's who they are. Right? Why try to take away from that? So, the red men, the red Indians, right? When Oklahoma became the 46th state within the Union, their flag was red, and it had a white star in the middle of it, And in the middle of that white star was the number 64, because they were the 64th state to become a state within the Union. And beneath that star, they had written, "Imagine this." Okay? It was after, no, it wasn't World War II, it was before World War, it was after World War I, and sometime just before World War II. Oklahoma changed its flag. Oklahoma changed its flag because people felt that it looked too much like the communist flags, the Nazi flag. It was red with a white circle with the black swastika in the middle. And then you had the Soviet Union with their red flag with the star and the sickle. Right? So they changed their flag. So now the Oklahoma state flag, the nation state of Oklahoma, the flag is a blue, beautiful blue color with a bison skin shield with the what's that? I want to call it a twig. It's not a twig, it's a stick. It's a peace stick. They got the peace pipe. It's the oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called now. It's the branch, the olive branch. So it's they got the bison skin shield with the olive stick, the olive branch, and the peace pipe. And that's the Oklahoma state flag. Other states have changed their state flags. I think it was Mississippi, or it was either Mississippi or Alabama, that had the Confederate flag as their nation state flag, up until people started crying and complaining that it was a racist flag, right? So they changed it. I don't know what it is today, but yeah, the nation states, they can change their flags at any time they want, but it's the flag that represents them as a nation state. Okay, now even though all 50 states have their own nation state flag, we still have the one flag, right? It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, the one ring to rule them all, right? Well, we have the one flag that represents us all, one flag that rules us all, you know, that represents us all. And that's that beautiful flag that we so lovingly call Old Glory. Okay? Our Union flag, our Union Jack, okay, is the blue square with the 50 stars on it. Okay? Now, our nation flag, our sovereign nation, okay, the one flag that represents us all as a whole, is our Old Glory. She's got 13 stripes representing the original 13 states that created the Union. The 13 states that fought for that freedom and then created the Union. So they got 13 stripes on that flag for them. Plus they've got their star, right? They're the only states that have both a stripe and a star representing them on the flag. All the other states have just the star. Now, if you take the stripes off of our flag and you fly just the blue with the 50 stars, that's our Union Jack. And yes, we have a Union Jack. That's our Union. And ask me how I know. Well, I served in the Navy. Okay, and in the Navy, we fly both Old Glory and the Union Jack on our boats. Okay. So yes, we do have a Union Jack. The British, okay, we should understand how the United States works, right? They have England, they have Scotland, and then they have Northern Ireland, right? Right? They have, England has their flag, the white flag with the red cross, right? And then they have their Union Jack. Same thing with Scotland, right? Scotland's got its own flag, and then it flies the Union Jack as well. Same thing with Northern Ireland, right? Northern Ireland's got their own flag, and then they fly the British Union Jack, right? Now the United States is the greatest country on earth. It's the greatest country ever created, okay? This union of the United States, this union, okay? It's a nation, it's a sovereign nation made up of 50 individual nation states. And it's the greatest place ever created. How do I know that the United States is the greatest country on earth? Well, I can prove it to you, okay? And other countries, all right? have tried to mimic the United States. Okay? They've tried to copy us. All right. Take Europe here, for example. All right. The European countries in the 1990s, right, banded together and created, what did they create? The EU, right? The European Union. So now you have these European countries who are part of this union that they call the European Union. And they even created one currency, right? One currency for everyone within their. Here in the United States, we have one currency, our greenback, right? Our dollar, right? That's our one currency. We have one currency for all 50 states within the Union. Right? Our beautiful, loving greenbacks. Oh. So everyone wants to come here because, again, it's the greatest country on earth. And others are trying to mimic. Others are trying to copy us. Again, the European countries came together to form a union, and they're calling it the European Union, right? And then they created a currency called the euro, and every country within that union uses the euro. And the EU, the union, I guess you could, I don't know what they call the head of their union over there. I want to say, I'm just going to say president, because I don't know really anything about the European Union other than it's just a bunch of European nations coming together to try and be like us, right? Everybody wants to be like Mike now. So they want to be like us, and I guess their president of the European Union is their, I guess, the one who represents them on the world stage now. I don't know if they still do individual trade deals. I don't know if the United States can do like an individual trade deal with Germany, or if the United States has to go through the European Union. I really don't know. I just know that they came together to form that union because they wanted to be like us. They wanted to be able to have the type, they were hoping they would have the economy that we have and the power that we have. Unfortunately, the Europeans, just, they don't, you can't copy us. Right? You can join us, but you can't copy us. Okay, it's impossible. Now, there is one country here in North America that has tried to copy us as well, and that's Mexico. All right. After the United States was created from the 13 original colonies and started adding more and more new nation states into the when the Spanish that were in Central and South, North America here, when the Spanish fought for their freedom from Spain and became Mexico. Mexico's true title, okay, their actual title is the United States of Mexico. Okay, they're not just Mexico. We're not just America, right? We're the United States of America, but we don't just go, well, yeah, I'm from the United States of America. I'm an American. Where I'm from. Most Americans, when we go overseas and somebody asks us where we're from, we'll say the state that we're from. We won't even say we're from America. So Mexico became an independent nation from Spain, and they have states in Mexico. Mexico has individual states. Now, I don't know if they see their individual states as individual nation states like we do here in the U.S., but Mexico's official title is the United States of Mexico. We just don't, it's just we just call them Mexico for short. Even the Mexicans will say they're from Mexico. They say it's short. We say we're from America, right? They say, well, we're from Mexico. Then they'll go, well, we're from the United States of Mexico, even though that's the title of the country. But anyway, that's the United States in a nutshell. Well, I hope you liked and enjoyed that video, and if you did, please hit the like, subscribe, and share, and notification bell. It would help me out greatly. And remember, knowledge is a good thing. truth in knowledge is an even better thing. And true knowledge, that's power.